In a time and place when you can work from anywhere.
Two ladies in their mid to late 27s have decided to.
And they're calling it Workationing.
The podcast has been on a hiatus for 2 long months.
But now they're back.
The ladies are road tripping from Los Angeles to Las Vegas.
Burying their dear friend Dom and setting some intentions.
That book deal is on a Post-it, so you know it's going to happen.
This is the Workationing Podcast. So we are in Vegas, which is pretty crazy because I feel like we've been looking at Vegas off on the horizon for like 6 months now.
It has been a very, very long time coming. We've known about Vegas since we haven't known about anything else, really, where we're going to go. So we knew about Puerto Rico, but other than Vegas, this has been the
Yeah, we've had a real seat of our pants situation going on here. But Vegas was like a fixed point in time, and I think that we've sort of been looking forward to it, and now it's here.
It is here. We are at the Paris Hotel and Resort in Las Vegas.
Yeah, we sure are. This is my first time in Vegas, and it has not disappointed. It's very Vegas-y, just all about.
And actually, we rode in on a bucket list item. How about that?
We sure did. It was awesome. So some of you might remember from our bucket list episode, one of our bucket list items has been road tripping from LA to Vegas.
And actually, we got in a little extra mileage because we ended up making the trip from San Diego, where we just were. It was about an extra hour or so.
Yeah, and we rented a sweet car.
We did. Because it's all about the sweet car when you're making a long road trip through the desert.
Yeah, I think we really envisioned a convertible for this situation, but what we did not envision was that it was going to be 120 goddamn degrees outside.
Too hot for a convertible. I have a convertible. Zoe is a convertible, and you need to wear your SPF and a hat. We didn't have any hats.
Yeah, we just weren't trying to die like a raisin in the sun, so no convertible.
No convertible, but we did rent a BMW, cute little white car. And we made that road trip. So the road trip itself was a bucket list item, but there was another bucket list item that we slipped in along the way. We had to go bury our dear friend Dom.
Yeah, we sure did. So really early on in this whole situation, the whole workationing trip, we watched a movie called Fandango. Kari and I, we each had a night where we showed the other person our favorite movie, and Fandango was Kari's.
Yes, I love Fandango. It's got a hot Kevin Costner in it.
It does. I never knew he was such a stone cold fox back in the day.
It's Kevin Costner's first starring role. Fun fact.
I can see why it was a star maker.
Yeah. And it's not for free. If you want to rent it, you've got to actually rent it on iTunes and pay that money because it's not for free on Amazon or Netflix or anything. But it is totally worth spending those $3 or whatever to watch that movie. It's a great flick.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic. So the whole idea is that it was filmed maybe 10 years later, but it was set during the Vietnam era. Mm-hmm. And there are a bunch of college dudes who are graduating and saying goodbye to each other, and some of them are going off to the war. And they, at this party, just start freaking out. Are like, oh, we got to go get our friend Dom. And you don't really know what that's all about. And there's this whole road trip and shenanigans that ensue. And what you find out at the end is that they had buried a bottle of Dom Perignon way the fuck out in the desert, and that they just kind of knew that they would know when it was time to come dig it up.
Yes, it's intention setting. And so for them, it was when they all got drafted, and then one of them was going to go get married and potentially go off to war, and there's a lot of war themes in there. So these guys had set the intention of they were going to dig up their dear buddy Dom when they knew the time was right, and for them it was when they all got drafted. And we decided to set the intention of we are going to bury this bottle of Dom, and we're not going to come and dig her up until when?
Well, there are a few different things that could trigger it. The first would be a book deal. Mm-hmm. The next would be Workationing makes $1 million.
I don't know how that's going to happen.
I don't know either, but listen, maybe this Dom will help.
Hey, head on over to patreon.com/workationing and help us achieve that goal, please.
Right. And then conversely, I suppose if one of us died or were dying,
yeah,
we would do that as well as kind of a last Gringo road trip, which we don't like thinking about that one, but that could also.
Yeah, that's real dark.
That one's dark. That one's dark.
We got real dark with that one. How about we just write that book?
Yeah, for real. I would prefer the book one.
Me too. The $1 million might not be bad.
It might not be bad. I don't really see that roadmap right now, but. So anyways, this led to something that I kind of knew was inevitable for Kari and I at some point or another, which is that we were out and we bought a shovel and we drove out into the middle of the desert.
We did. No, we really did. Out into the middle of nowhere. Because when you're driving from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, there is just a whole lot of Mojave Desert that you go through.
Yeah, it's intense out there. I'd never really seen desert before, and it really looks like an alien world. It's crazy.
It was gorgeous. But
it is. It's like a stark beauty.
Not super comfortable, though. You don't want to, like, hang out outside.
No. So, which leads us to the Fandango of us trying to bury this goddamn bottle.
We didn't know where to buy a shovel.
No, luckily we just happened, this is the US of A, so we just happened to buy it at Home Depot.
Yeah, well,
something.
The universe provided, because we were like, well, we've got to get the shovel. Where are we going to go to get a shovel? And we really could have Google mapped it, but instead we just pulled off on a random exit to go to the bathroom, and lo and behold, there was a Home Depot smiling down at us.
So we get this shovel and we go out and we just randomly picked somewhere to pull off. We're like, well, this looks remote AF.
It was so remote. We really drove out into the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, really in the middle of nowhere. Like there was no one in any direction. And we go to bury this bottle. Now, let me tell you, the desert, at least where we were, is not so much sand as it is just like rock.
Yeah.
So the burying part was a little taxing.
Also, it was approximately 195 degrees.
Yeah, no, it really was almost 120 degrees that day. And so we were all about burying this bottle just quick, fast, and in a hurry.
It was so hot. I was wearing flip-flops. You got a great photo of me digging this hole in the desert.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see that on our Instagram if you're interested. And so we bury this thing, and we had a moment, and we set some intentions, and it was all lovely.
We dropped a pin on a map.
Yeah, that's important. So little geocaching action happened, and then we get back in the car, and as we're driving away, both of us at the exact same time, we're just like, I don't think we buried that bottle deep enough at all.
I mean, it's covered.
It's covered, but it's a solid 2.5 inches under the ground.
And beyond that, Dom comes in a box. So we buried the box. I mean, the bottle's kind of protected.
Right, but it was literally 120 degrees that day. So and it was for the next few days after that. Like if it made it through 24 hours without exploding, I'm shocked.
Well, I mean, the box itself was pretty deep. I'll give me that.
Yeah.
I felt like I was digging that hole for a very long time. I don't know how somebody, in the movies, they take people out and they make them dig their own grave. Girl,
you would die before you dug your grave.
No.
You'd be dead before it was deep enough for you.
We should have gotten 2 shovels.
Right?
Why did we only get 1?
It was just like, you're doing great, Gringa.
It's so hot. It was so hot. You couldn't get away from that sun.
No, it was so hot. So we will someday go dig that dude up.
Yeah.
But not.
Well, it's a she. Oh, right. Gringa. Dom is a she.
Of course she is.
She could be Dominique.
We'll go dig her up, and but we're probably gonna need to bring another bottle.
That's exactly what I was thinking. You read my mind. We're gonna need a spare bottle just in case.
Yeah, and even if it hasn't exploded, I feel like a bottle of Dom that's been in the earth. Although I guess that's where they kept wine, right? That's what a wine cellar really kind of was just a hole in the ground.
In the desert, 6 inches deep.
Probably not in the desert, 6 inches deep. I think that's where we went wrong.
I think so too. It was between 2 shrubs. I'm hoping they're going to cast a shadow at some point, maybe cool her down.
Yeah. That was great. I love it though. What I love about it so much is that we have made setting intentions such a big part of this process.
Yes.
And it's been really transformative for both of us. And so I think it's kind of cool to do something like this. It's like something a little witchy almost.
It is a little witchy. Little Gringa magic.
Yeah.
That we're sprinkling in the desert.
I think that stuff actually is important. It seems cheesy and silly, but I really think that setting those kinds of intentions are really crucial to your ability to make anything big happen.
There's this video of Oprah that has gone viral on Facebook, and in it she talks about how your intention is law, and what you intend to do and what you focus on then becomes what you do. And I think that there's a lot of truth to that. It sounds kind of woo, a little crunchy.
Right. I've never been a big fan of The Secret which if you're not familiar, is the idea that you can just like manifest your reality by just sort of like tuning into the vibration of things. Like if you just like believe that something's true or is going to happen, then it'll eventually happen. And I always thought that was kind of crazy because especially like the people who really espouse it, like people like Oprah and like Jim Carrey and like these big names who like talk about this kind of stuff. Because there's also like just a huge amount of luck that goes into being an Oprah or a Jim Carrey.
Right.
And so part of me is like, well, you just lucked out and now you think it's magic because you can't really reconcile how you got so lucky compared to everyone else. That was always kind of my interpretation of it. Mm-hmm. But what I really realized this year is how much, and we've talked about this before, but I think it bears repeating, is that like what I really realized, and this was a big realization for me in Montreal especially, was that as soon as that I've been sabotaging all kinds of things like in my life, like weight loss or, you know, career goals or something like that, because I have this idea in my head that like, I'm like, well, I hope I can do that. I hope I don't fail. I hope, you know what I mean?
It goes back to that 3 frogs sitting on a log thing.
Right.
How does that go?
There are 3 frogs sitting on a log and one decides to jump off. How many frogs are on the log? 3, because deciding doesn't do anything. You have to actually do it. And so I guess where I'm going with this is I do think that there's something kind of magical. It feels magical that happens when you come from a place of already believing that your success is inevitable, because then it removes a lot of that anxiety and the stuff that clogs you up and that keeps you away from your best work and gets in your own way.
Right.
And if you just assume your success already, then what happens is that you just, like, why wouldn't you do the work? Why wouldn't you take the next step if your success was inevitable?
I think that there's a step missing in between where it's not just deciding to be successful. It's got to be a more specific goal. But beyond that, you've got to outline the steps that you need to take to get there.
Right.
And then start working toward them.
Right.
It's not enough, I don't think, to just want it and to believe that you hear people all the time, or at least I do. Maybe my friends are just assholes who are like, you know, I could probably make $1 million. And I'm like, well, why don't you?
Right.
Why don't you go do that?
Right, because if you really actually believed that you could, then literally why wouldn't you?
Right. Why don't you go prove that to yourself?
Right. And so what I've started to realize is just how much more control I have over myself and my direction when I set intentions and just move forward. And there is something in believing that you can do it.
Yes.
That makes it really important.
Well, and there's a risk of failure. And what does that mean about you if you believe that you can do this thing and that you're going to do this thing and then you work toward it for an extended period of time and you don't get there? I think that fear of failure really keeps a lot of people from trying.
Right. And I think that that's totally true. But something that like I've had to, because I've definitely had that, and something I've had to recognize in myself is just how childish that is. Like, how delicate am I that like one failure makes me be like, well, I thought I could and I couldn't. And now what?
Guess it's over.
Yeah, might as well just die. Like, really? Okay, so what would it mean if I found out that I wasn't quite the person that I thought I was? Like, am I going to crumble and fall apart because of that? Or am I going to be an adult and be like, well.
Well, adapting and having resiliency, I think, is a critical part of success in achieving goals as well.
Yeah. You've got to kind of get past your ego a little bit. It has to be okay for you to fail.
Right.
You have to be okay with a version of yourself that fails.
Because you're probably going to do it sometimes.
Yeah. And you've got to find some other way of measuring your value.
We're going to write this book proposal and probably the book. And then what if it doesn't get picked up by an agent? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that, I don't know. And here we are, we're talking to everybody about it. We buried this bottle in the desert.
Yeah, this is going to be a pretty public failure for me.
Right. Right, exactly. But there's something that is motivational in that.
Right.
And there's something that's really optimistic in it that I think is important. And I think that we have a better chance of success approaching it in this way.
Right. And then mapping out the steps it's going to take to get there and then holding each other accountable to actually getting the work done. I think that that's been a key component of our weight loss success. We've lost over 100 pounds together this year, and it's largely in part because we've kind of got our eye on each other.
Yeah, I feel like without that, I don't know how far I would have gone with it. I'm feeling a lot stronger now and a lot more into it now, but especially at the beginning, it's just such a struggle at the beginning. And it's really helpful to have somebody like looking directly at you.
Mm-hmm. We're about midway through this year and we've come a long way, but I think we still have a ways to go. And I think that weight loss is going to just getting fit. God, I got to tighten up.
Yeah. So let's talk about intentions, because we've set this long-term intention of this book deal. But in the meantime, we've got the rest of this. We're just about at the halfway point of this year. So let's talk about, because we've been talking about this a little bit, like what our intentions are, and weight loss is definitely one of them.
Right. Or tightening up a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm a lady in my mid to late 27s, and the snapback isn't
not what it once was.
It used to be.
Not what it once was, girl. So yeah, I think that we've done a good job of losing weight, and a lot of that's been like lifestyle change, but I think that we both want to get more fit. That is important.
I would really like to run a 5K without stopping.
Me too. I would really, really like to be able to do that.
I can get kind of close to that, but I'm not quite there yet. But I think that would be a really good goal for me, and just a test of my own physical fitness. I should be able to run a 5K without. People do that people do that for fun.
Yeah, they do, just for funsies.
I don't know that I'm ever going to get to that point exactly.
Yeah, girl, I don't know, but let's see.
If an axe murderer comes after me at some point, I would really like to know that I can go the distance.
At least for 3.2 miles.
Well, you can just turn around and axe him right back. I saw your axe throwing skills in Montreal, sister.
That's right. I should still probably work on that 5K though.
Run it with an axe, just to
be careful.
I would like to continue growing my business. I would like to get on the Inc. 5000 in the next year or two. I think that is totally possible. I'm almost there, or the company is almost there, rather. So I think that's a big one for me. That's how I know I will have made it in a certain sense. And I felt that way before. So, for example, I have a really cool sports car convertible. I was so excited to get it because literally since I was a child watching The Price is Right and Bob Barker would give away sports car convertibles, I've wanted one. That's like one of the first memories of like wanting something specific that I can remember. And I remember telling my grandpa one day that like when I turned 16, I want to get a sports car convertible. And he was like, well, what kind? And I was like, a sports car convertible, Grandpa. I didn't understand if they were like makes and models or anything. Bob Barker didn't talk about that.
The kind that makes people the most excited on The Price is Right, Grandpa.
Yes, that one.
You know which one I'm talking about.
The red one, Grandpa.
Right.
But when I got that, it was kind of like a dream coming true for me. And I was really proud of myself. I know it's kind of like a flashy, weird, I think people read it as ego sometimes. But for me, it was just like, I have wanted this since I was a child. And to be able to make that happen for myself is such a good feeling. And I want that in more areas of my life. I don't just want to want things. I want to work toward having them and then get them for myself.
Right.
And maybe not even things, experiences, a hot boyfriend.
Yeah. Well, because we've learned this year that we can do that for ourselves. There have been so many times along this road. You know, I remember specifically like standing up in the windows in Medellin, just looking down at the city and just being like, and us being like, we gave this to ourselves, you know? Like we hooked this up for us and it is all very nice.
We did a very good job.
Yeah. And there have been so many cool moments in my life that I'm just like, this is so fucking awesome. And I did this. And that's and I just want more of that.
Right.
And once you start giving yourself a few of the things that you really want, you're just like, oh.
Yeah, what else can I do? What else can I have?
Right. It turns out with just setting some intentions, setting some priorities, and just doing it with little hustle, you can do more than you think you can.
I thought about workationing full-time for 3 years before I was able to actually get on that plane to Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And we made the decision 6 months before we actually left. And in that 6 months, I broke up with a boyfriend. I moved out of his house. I put all of my stuff in storage. I sold a car. I packed an international carry-on to live out of for the rest of the year, and I got on a plane. And it was a lot of work, but it's been totally worth it. And yeah, I just want to get back to or really focus on making cool things happen for myself.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. And the other thing that we've been talking about, this is a fun one, is I think that we are both getting serious about finding a partner.
Yeah, that would be really nice. Wouldn't it? I mean, like, you've been a great partner and people think we're lesbians all the time.
Right.
But
You are a fantastic wife, and I find you delightful.
I just need a little something more.
Yeah. Something specific.
Yeah, I mean, we've been Tindering. The Tinder game in Acapulco. Not super hot.
No bueno.
You ran across that guy.
Oh, yeah.
That guy on Tinder.
Uh-huh. Just duck lipped up.
Shirtless. The cheesiest profile ever. And I was just like, man, does this work for you? And also, don't you have a wife?
Right?
All right, man.
But goddamn, everybody's poly these days. So, like, I don't even know what to do with that. And I'm, like, into it, like, in a very hypothetical sort of way. In that, like, I feel like people should be able to love in that way. Like, I love the idea of compersion. And, like, I love the idea of, like, loving someone not meaning that, like, you own them, you know, and that, like,
I like that a lot.
You can both continue to grow and have experiences and blah, blah, blah. But just in practice, it looks so fucking just messy and hard. And that's not what I'm not trying to introduce new levels of complexity into my life.
No, and I don't really want to be Eskimo cousins with a real fucking skeezer, you know? Because there's always skeezers. At least on the periphery of these poly groups.
Right. No, there's some comedian who does a bit about, like, if there's this whole song about it's never the people that you want to be poly that are poly. And, like, I know some like hot, successful, wonderful poly people, but there's 5 of them that I know.
Right.
And the rest of them, I'm just like, what are you doing? Just,
does this work for you? How do you feel about your partner's other partner?
right.
That one looks a little sketchy, don't you think?
Right. I just don't.
I try not to be judgy about it.
No, and I would be into it in general, but what I really want is, because here's the thing, is I'd be into it, like, in theory. I'd be into the idea of letting someone have experiences in other relationships and that sort of thing as they evolved in a natural kind of way. But what you find with this, like, online dating stuff is just people who are like, well, I've got this wife and we've got this girlfriend, and now I'm also here. And I'm like, I guarantee you, son, that you don't have enough hours in the day to be making all those ladies happy. They're all disappointed in you.
And you want more?
And you want more? Like,
Okay.
No, absolutely the fuck not. Because it takes time and effort and to, like, actually show up to somebody for somebody.
Yeah, but on the other hand, how many people cheat in relationships?
Right. And I don't know how realistic, like, long-term monogamy is.
Without the structure of church and that kind of sky daddy morality keeping you guys together because you got married in front of the eyes of God and whatnot. I mean, I'm a divorcee, so maybe I'm not the best person to talk to about this, but
I'm a 3-time runaway bride. So my expertise is just really golden. You're going to want to hear what I have to say.
about relationships.
Right. Let me just tell you.
Yeah, I don't know, but I do know that the person I am at 34, or my mid to late 27s, as I like to call them, and the person I was at 24, I mean, I'm still the same person, obviously, but I've grown and evolved in so many ways that, I mean, the partner that I had, obviously, at 24 is not the partner that I'm still with now.
Right.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah. Well, and I think that in a way, like, having a more open thing, even if you're not poly, like, in a way that kind of, like, gives you both more room to evolve. I still don't know how you necessarily evolve in the same direction. I feel like you get some blind luck on that, you know?
Right.
But I don't think monogamy stops that from happening either. So
No, I think I'm looking for a monogamous relationship as well. I guess I'd be open to it. I don't know. I like to try weird things, but I just don't. I don't know how it works in practice.
No, and because, like, I'd be open to it, but what I ultimately want is somebody who's, like, actually committed to, like, making a relationship work. Because if there's anything that I've learned, it's that it does take. Listen, it shouldn't be like labor. You know,
Right.
It doesn't need to be, like, hard all the time, and it really shouldn't be hard all the time, but it does take sustained effort. And I want somebody who's willing to show up in that and isn't just always looking for the next high.
I know several people in polyamorous relationships, and I got to tell you, I think there's only a couple people who seem really consistently happy with it.
Yeah, there's always, like, one person who wants it more than the other.
There's a lot of drama.
There's a lot of drama.
Oh, And then your partner's drama, your partner's drama becomes your drama.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of headspace that gets eaten up. Got to hold space for all these assholes. I don't know about that. I don't have that kind of headspace.
No, because like in theory, I'd kind of like to have an interwoven little community like that, but I don't see how you do it and not have it just be fucked up. You know what I mean?
No.
Like if it could be nice, but I don't know how it is. I just feel like it's just a lot of personalities and a lot of friction and a lot of, I don't know, man. I think I'd rather just try to make it work with one guy. I feel like that's hard enough. And if we want to like get a little crazy on vacation or something, maybe. But I really don't want to deal with like my partner's girlfriend. That sounds...
No, and then what if he's got 3 of them? Do you have to deal with all of those people?
Right. And like I know that realistically no one can meet all of your needs, but I would like someone who's at least invested in meeting like a goodly amount.
Right.
Who's like in it with me. Because I would certainly try.
I think that we're going to have some dating time when we're out in Europe.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be an easier place to date. Acapulco, it's like we can't even necessarily split up.
No, I'm not going on a date in Acapulco through rabid dog country.
Yeah, no. You just don't know what you're going to get. I don't know the area enough. We don't know other people.
There's a lot of murders happening out there.
Lot of murders. It's just not a good place to date for us.
No, people do it. They must do it.
No, they must. But also we were only there for a month, so it wasn't. But Europe, we're going to spend... So once we leave Vegas, our plan is to spend like basically the rest of the year in Europe.
Mm-hmm. We're going to hit up Prague first, but then I think we're going to spend at least a month, maybe 2 in Amsterdam.
Yeah, we love Amsterdam.
So I got to tell you, I have been pre-Tindering. Have you been pre-Tindering
Yes.
too?
So pre-Tindering, this is very important. If you want some real travel tips from the road, ladies
travel
and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Is that a lot of times you will find yourself in a place where for whatever reason, like maybe you don't just even speak the language well enough. That makes it hard to date. But for whatever reason, you're in an area that is not super good for dating. You just set your Tinder to the next place.
Yeah. Where are you going next, girl? And you're going to need to upgrade your account. It's not free. You've got to get the paid Tinder to do this, I think.
Yeah. But that's an investment literally in your future.
It is. And then you just set your location to wherever you're going next and start swiping. And, you know, we've actually made choices based on the local talent on Tinder.
No, we always check ahead. Amsterdam has a lot of promise, I got to tell you.
It does. I've actually been talking to a guy. It started in Acapulco. His name is Paul. He's in security, cybersecurity, kind of geeky. I like
Is this one with a cat?
Yeah.
He's got. I want to meet this cat.
I got rid of my cat. I can borrow this one maybe.
Yeah.
Kind of happy not to have a cat.
Yeah, me too.
I hear we're hotter without cats.
We are.
Consistently, I get told I'm hotter without a cat.
Yeah, that's a reality.
God, yeah, 3 cats, and it's just like you go downhill real fast. You go from like a 10 to a 7 with 3 cats, I feel like.
Right. So you've got this guy in Amsterdam.
I do. We've been talking.
It's always interesting, though. The thing you got to watch with the Tindering ahead is that life moves fast on Tinder. He could be like dating somebody else or like already moved on or something by the time you get there. So sometimes the investment.
Right.
So we'll see.
We'll see. I don't know. There are backups. I've got other matches.
Yeah, girl.
There are other fish in that sea.
You just swipe.
It's a deep sea out in Amsterdam. Talent is hot.
It really is. I'm excited. I'm excited to get out there.
What are you looking for in a guy?
You know, I think that answer has really changed over this year. I think that I want somebody who is really got their shit all the way in a pile. I've had a lot of patience in the past in my life for people who were maybe kind of fringy and weird, you know, because I do love a good story, but like, you know, a bird may love a fish, but where will they live? You know? And I can't be with somebody who is a struggling artist or whatever. I've got things that I want from my life, and I don't, you know, that kind of person can't like travel with me or whatever. So like I want somebody who's like really got their shit all in a pile, but they still have to be fun.
Yeah, that fun thing is important.
And that's a hard combo to find. So I'm looking for somebody who has their shit all the way on the pile, is fun, and is like really like self-aware and emotionally mature.
Mm-hmm. I know you and I are also looking for genius level IQ.
You've got to be, I'm sorry, like top 2% at least.
So there goes 98% of men right away.
Uh-huh.
And you've really got to dazzle me with your wit.
Yeah, you have to be able to make me laugh. And a lot of people say this about me too, is that like everyone knows, people who know me well, like I have my laugh 95% of the time is fake. I have this real laugh. It bubbles up from down deep, you know?
Mm-hmm. I heard it when I spit that tripe soup on you.
Right. Right. You crack me up all the time, but like not a lot of people can crack me up. You have to be a little edgy because like I need you to have a little bit of darkness in you, but that darkness can't run your life. You know what I mean? Like I've got a lot of just really impossible checklist.
Yeah, mine's kind of similar. I am not super picky about what they look like.
I feel like surprisingly what we've learned is that I am more picky than you are.
You are a female chauvinist pig sometimes. I got to tell you.
I know.
I told you that. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings.
No, you're the first person to say it in that way, but I've had people tell me that I'd be really, really creepy as a dude, which I think is kind of saying the same thing.
I think so. Maybe. I don't know.
I just really, in a lot of ways, I'm a sapiosexual in that, like, I've been attracted to all kinds of different people and all kinds of different body types. Mm-hmm. But goddamn, do I like a pretty man. I
like to be the pretty one in the relationship. You know? I've dated really attractive guys before. My last boyfriend was universally attractive.
Yeah, he was cute.
I would say.
He was cute.
Had a PhD too. You know? Finding those combos, difficult. And then sometimes it still doesn't work out. It's a real scratch and dent kind of inventory out here. Dating in your 30s, I got to tell you.
Yeah, no, it's not that I won't date. Like, I really can be very genuinely attracted to all different kinds of body types. It's just I am easily distracted by the shiny thing, especially like early on.
Right. And is that really going to last?
No, it almost never does. And like the problem with a really, really good looking man is that they are a really, really good looking man. And that's how they've existed in the world. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And that's like the expectations that have been set for them. And I tend to not agree with anything about how they see things.
Okay.
It's just like a different worldview.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. I don't know. I'd like somebody with a good job. An interesting job. Like,
and that they're
meaningful
passionate about. I really
Exactly.
don't want to date like an accountant unless like accounting really sets your world on fire. And even then I've got questions for you.
Well, they've got spreadsheets to show you. They can explain it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I want to date somebody who's like kind of on fire for what they do.
I think that's really important. It's really important for me. I know you feel the same way.
Yeah.
Because you spend a third of your life working. If you're just working for a paycheck, you're in the wrong line of business.
Yeah. I almost think that of all the limiting factors that I place on it, probably the most limiting factor is that I'm foolishly probably, but whatever, hanging on for this like really big love, like a romance for the ages. You know what I mean? But what that takes is not necessarily somebody like you finding your soulmate, because I don't really believe in that. But what it does take is two people who are invested in creating that kind of relationship.
Right.
And that takes like a certain kind of like idealism and romanticism and also creativity, and more than anything, I think like bravery. Somebody has to be, especially like you see people in their 30s, how fucking fucked up we all are, and like afraid to open up, to like really have something like that. Like, you can't be a pussy.
Yeah.
And that's really hard to find, because I want that kind of a relationship, and you need someone else who's also capable of and willing to put in what it takes to make that happen.
Well, and then you've got to keep doing it.
Right.
Because you can't just do it once. You've got to continually work on that relationship and making it awesome. And I am prepared to do that at some point. Bouncing around the world, I don't know exactly what that looks like.
Right. No, I really want to do that. Like, when I find it, I think that if I found it, I would probably, like, not to say that I would just like follow some man around, because I anticipate that the person that I will choose will be somebody who can at least share in this life with me to some extent.
Right.
But I'll tell you, if I found that, I mean, listen, the world's open to us right now. I can go and do whatever I want. If I found that, I would go to that place.
Right. And it would be worth it.
It would be 100% worth it.
What I'm starting to realize, talking about setting intentions, it kind of brings this to the forefront for me, is that you can really make your life whatever the hell you want it to be.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, you can change it. And that's kind of what prompted me to start this whole workation thing in the first place. I wasn't super psyched to be living in the middle of nowhere, New Hampshire. I didn't know what my next move was, but I needed to make a move. And for me, this was the solution, at least for this year.
Yeah. And I think that what I saw too is the power of setting these intentions, even if you don't 100% get there. Even with this dating thing, I see how if I don't set the intention that I want all of these things on this list, how many of those things am I even really going to get?
Right.
You know, I look at like my most recent relationship and I'm just like, what was that even about? I was getting literally none of the things that I wanted. Like, what was I doing? Mm-hmm. But I hadn't set that intention, and somewhere in my head I thought, well, I'm not going to find what I want. And so because I decided that I wasn't going to find it, then I sure didn't.
Right.
Not even any piece of it.
Right.
And it's the same thing with traveling. We didn't know exactly what this was going to look like, but you've got to make the decision and do it to even know what the possibilities are.
And you can figure it out as you go. That's what we've been doing. We've made some weird choices.
We've made some very weird choices. I question our decision making at times.
Acapulco was just a real mistake, I would say.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be learning from that for a long time. It's a whole onion of mistake.
Right. And I think the biggest mistake of all was that we stayed in it. We stayed in that mistake for way longer than we should have. We were there for a month. We could have dipped out at any time, and we stuck it out for no reason, and we extended our misery for no reason, and I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, because I think that's a lesson that we've learned, like Acapulco really hammered it home, but it's not like unlike other things that we've been talking about, like in the episode where we talked about unsticking yourself. You know what I mean? Like how long are you willing to just sit in a shitty situation because you feel like you already are pot committed because you spent money on it, or you know what I mean? Like whatever. Or you just think that you can't, or you think it's going to be harder to leave, or you think that whatever. But it's really easy. You're never stuck.
Right. Hardly ever are you stuck.
And you should always be making the best decision for you in that moment, not with, you've got to be able to accept a sunk cost and do what's the right thing for you then.
So that's kind of what we did.
Yeah.
And we've got a bottle of Dom Perignon in the desert. We've got a conference to go to, FreedomFest, here at the Paris Hotel, Resort, and Casino.
My goodness, am I excited.
We have some sparkly dresses. We're gonna go to Steve Forbes' 70th birthday gala.
We do. We rented the runway and we've got some very sparkly dresses.
We have several different colors of sequins to choose from.
Yes, and we do have a pretty good squad here. I'm excited to see a lot of the ladies.
Angela Keaton.
Yes, if you remember Angela Keaton, we did an interview with her really early on, and she was in Puerto Rico with us.
Mm-hmm. Tatiana Moroz is going to be out here. You haven't met Tati yet, but you're going to love her. She's great.
I'm excited to meet her.
She's fab. And some of my friends from New Hampshire are coming out, so it's going to be a little mini reunion before we bounce on out to Europe for the rest of the year.
Yeah, it should be exciting. I think probably our next episode will be about
the Freedom Fest experience.
Yeah, that'll be cool. So I think that's where we'll hit you guys next.
I'm gonna go play some poker, I think.
All right, girl, do that. I'm gonna not. Okay. This has been another episode of the Workationing podcast. If you like what you've heard here, please consider donating at patreon.com/workationing. That's patreon.com. All proceeds will go towards funding our bucket list items.
To keep up with us in real time, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at Workationing. Or on our website at, you guessed it, workationing.com. That's workationing.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. How do you want to come in?
Hot.
You want to come in hot?
Coming in hot. How do you want to come in?
Not lukewarm.
Okay.
We're at the Paris in Vegas.